Hi everyone, Chuck with ClassLoaderPro.com. Wanted to do a quick video today. Well, hopefully it'll be quick. Kind of a short demo of ClassLoader Pro to go over, some of the basic features that it offers. This will be from an administrative point of view. So this would be like, what the instructor would see when they log on to the admin console and schedule classes or create new class types, new add-ons, and, things like that. So it'll give you a pretty good idea from a high level what's available out there. And another thing that I did is I set up a demo site so you can, anybody could actually go out and log in using a test account and, get some real hands-on experience with with ClassLoader Pro. So later on I'll give you the login information for that. Now keep in mind it's a single account, and there may be more than one person out there during a given day, or maybe even at the same time. So if you see some crazy stuff happening in there, just ignore it. All the data will reset every night at midnight Eastern time, so by the next morning things will be cleaned up, and you can go right back out and play some more if you want to. But like I said, I'll give you that information later. We're really close to the end of the beta testing process. We've been testing for about 10 months. Everything's looking really good. I think we've got all of the kinks out, and I think we're ready for prime time here. So I will be sending out some emails at least to start with, to some instructors in the Ohio area to let them know that ClassLoader Pro is available as soon as that's the case. And I expect to get a lot of questions back about features and things like that. So that's why I set up this video and also the demo site that I mentioned earlier. Just a couple other side notes here. Like I mentioned before, this video is mainly for instructors and will be from like the administrative point of view. Later on, I plan to do another demo video of what things look like from the end user perspective. So when they get on there, when they hit your website and browse through all of your classes, and then select a class and register for that class, and pay for it via PayPal. We'll go through that whole process and see what it looks like from their perspective. We'll take a look at the email receipts that they get back. Maybe in the follow-up email that they get as a reminder that their class is coming up the next day, and things like that. In addition to that, I plan to do a couple other videos as well. In fact, I'm planning to do a whole series of videos on the individual features within ClassLoader Pro at a much deeper dive on those. So we'll go into each of those features in detail, and go over some tips and tricks and things like that. Another one I plan to do probably before those would be for new instructors. So how to get started with ClassLoader Pro. So from start to finish, you're a brand new instructor, you're setting up your business, or maybe not a brand new instructor, but brand new to ClassLoader Pro. You're setting up your business in ClassLoader Pro. We'll take you from step one all the way to the end to get you up and running as quickly as possible. So keep an eye out for those. Those will be coming soon. But for right now, I just wanted to get this one out to hopefully answer some questions on the features that are available. Okay, with all that out of the way, let's jump right in here and take a look at that demo site that I mentioned earlier. So the URL is up on your screen now. That's that https://ClassLoaderPro.com/admin/demo-sign-in.cfl. I know that's a lot to type in there, but I'll try to add a link to the comments section below the video, so you can just click on that, or you may already have it in an invitation email that I may have sent you. But I'm going to cheat a little bit here. I'm just going to paste it in. I already had it in the clipboard, so that way you don't have to watch me type it in. So there we go. This brings us to the demo login. And it's going to ask for an email address and a password. Now, this is where once your account's set up, you would use your own email address and password to log into the demo site, but or into the admin site. But just for this demo account, we're going to log in as test@test.com. And then the password, you guessed it, is test. It even tells you right here, little cheat sheet to tell you what to use. So we go ahead and click sign in. And just tell we don't want to save the password for now. So the default page that comes up once you sign into the admin console is the dashboard. So that's what we're looking at right now. Now keep in mind, this is all demo data that I put in there just for this demo site. So just keep that in mind as we kind of go along here. All right. So at the very top here, we'll take a look at this from the top to the bottom. You get some statistics, just basic statistics about your current stats and historical stats. And basically what that means is current stats are the ones that, these are the classes that are currently open or that have not been archived yet. So let's, if you think about this as, you either have a class that's been taught or a class that's finished and has been archived. So they're either open or they're archived. And basically right now we have 3 classes that are open. One of those has not been taught yet. 2 of them have been taught, but they haven't been archived yet. So I just wanted to point that out. So that's why it's showing that there are 3 open classes, and it's giving you some somewhat bogus statistics about the seats that are available, because obviously the seats that are available on classes that haven't been taught or that have already been taught, aren't very meaningful. So I guess my point that I'm trying to make is this is one of the first things you'd want to do after you teach a class. You want to come in here into your admin console and you want to archive that class. And archiving it basically just says, yes, here are the students that were in my class. Here are the ones that passed the class and failed the class, and even some test scores. And I'll show you that right now. So if we look, let's say this class on 9/27, you see the icons next to it. The very first one here is archive. And if I click that, I see a list of all my students that were in that class. And I can either I can select a pass, fail, or an NA setting for attendance, classroom participation, and range participation. I can also say whether or log whether a certificate was granted or not. And maybe that's NA. Maybe there is no certificate for the particular class that you taught. But this just gives you a quick way to keep track of that. And this gets stored away in the database, and it's available later for reporting purposes. If you ever need to go back for legal reasons or whatever to see if a particular student was granted a certificate, you can always go back and look at this data. If you'd rather put in a score for attendance, class participation, and range participation, you can do that as well. So you have that option over here. But once you get all this filled in, you click Archive, and it archives that class. So now you see we have 2 open classes instead of 3, and we could do the same with this class as well. So here's all of our students. They all passed. They got 100%. They all got certificates, and we'll click Archive on that one. So now the only class that's showing as open is the one that hasn't been taught yet. So this is a future date. Now, it may not be by the time you see this video, but it is for me right now. So this class hasn't been taught yet. It still has a few icons on the side here, and I'll go ahead and show you what those are all about. We can print certificates for the students. We can print a class roster for this particular class. Maybe you just want to export email addresses so that you can email everybody, to personally thank them or whatever, let them know that there's a delay or something like that. We can also list the students in this class. We can edit this class. So maybe, there was a typo in the description or something like that. We just want to go in and edit the class. Or we can delete it, or we can clone it. And basically cloning is just saying take everything about this class and create a copy of it. And maybe all I'll do is change the date because everything else is the same. I just want to make a copy, and I'm going to do a class just like it the very next week. So I'll just, clone it and change the date to the 25th or something like that. So while we're here, we'll go ahead and take a look at maybe just the flow that you may want to go through when you're using ClassLoader Pro. So let's say that, today is the morning of the 18th and you're up bright and early getting ready for your class. And one of the first things you would probably want to do is, log in, come over here and print the class roster. And what the roster is going to do is going to show you your logo here instead of mine. But it's going to show you all of the information about this class. All of the students. So we've got Alexis Boyd here. The email address. We see that they spent $50 on this class. They didn't buy any add-ons. There was no tax involved, and they don't owe you any money. You can print this whole report and take it with you, and then you can always just, while you're at the range, you can check off these check boxes as to whether they passed or failed, or as well as putting in their scores over here. So later when you come back and you go to archive that class, you have that information available. So that's just one way you could look at doing this. But anyway, so here's all of our students, and what they spent money on. And what they did. At the very end, we get a kind of a summary of, you made $800 in class fees. You made $80 on add-ons, and basically here's the add-ons that you sold. You had 4 people purchase a gun rental ammo package. So I'm guessing those were $20 a piece. But if we scroll back through here, you'd find, here's one here. So this particular student right here purchased an add-on for $20. Okay, so that's one of those. So when you go here, you can, at a glance, okay, 4 people purchased ammo. I need to bring 4 boxes of ammo or something like that. It just gives you an idea. Now, these add-ons are configurable, so you can add your own add-ons, up to 5 per class, and call them whatever you want. So keep that in mind as well, and we'll take a look at that in just a minute. Okay, so let's go back to the dashboard real quick. So the other thing you might want to do that morning before you get to class is you might want to go ahead and print the certificates. Yep, that's what I said. It'll print the certificates for you. And then that way, if everybody passes, you just sign the certificates and date them, and you're ready to go. Just hand them out. If they didn't, then tear it up, throw it in the trash. If they didn't pass the class. But we got a couple options here. First of all, there's a template which you can create. So you might have a different certificate template for each of your classes. So you might have like an advanced class, a beginner's class, and then you have a different certificate for each of those. So you want to pick the certificate template that you want to use. In this sample, we've only got one, so we'll pick the sample Ohio CCW class. You want to select the instructor name because ClassLoader Pro supports more than one instructor. So this will be the instructor name that gets printed on the certificate. So you want to select that. And then the print mode. So we've got, right now, we've got 3 different print modes. You can print a full page, scaled down with no border. So that's for paper that maybe you have paper that already has a printed border on it. So that'll hopefully fit right in, inside of that border, or scaled down with a printed border. So this is basically on blank paper. It's going to print a nice looking certificate with a border around it. And that's what we're going to select right now. And we'll click Create PDF, because basically what it's doing here is it's creating a PDF file and displaying it inside of your browser. So all you have to do is click the print button. So we'll click that. And there we go. It created all of our certificates. So if I scroll through here, you can see all of our all of our different student names, the date. Here's the legal mumbo jumbo for the state of Ohio. Here's the instructor ID, a fake one, of course, and a certificate number. These are unique numbers for every certificate, as required by law. And you've got a whole lot of control over how this certificate looks. And again, your logo would appear here if you choose, not my logo. So just keep that in mind as well. Anyway, all the certificates ready to go. All you have to do. Okay, so let's go back to the dashboard now, and we'll take a look at a couple of these other options. So going back, so this is the morning of your class. You've got all your certificates printed. You've got your class roster printed. You got all that in hand. You go to class. You got everything you need to, to sign your certificates. Hand them out after class when you're done. Now, let's say later on, or maybe even before, you wanted to export those email addresses to import them into something like Constant Contact or one of those other email managers. Here's all the email addresses in a couple different formats. Here's comma delimited, and then here's just a list this way. So, you can copy and paste it into a CSV file, import it into Excel, or into, I guess there's some other email programs out there that will take this format as well. But you have that option. The next one over here is just a list of students in this class. And this tells you, basic information, their legal name, their email address, whether or not they passed, class and range, and whether a certificate was given. Now they're all set to no right now because you haven't taught the class, so obviously they don't have their certificate. And this would be if I wanted to edit something about this particular class. So let's go ahead and we'll take a look at that. This is a scheduled class. That's why it shows scheduled. And then you'll notice up here it says that some of these settings can't be changed in this screen. And that's because ClassLoader Pro uses a concept of class templates. And what that allows you to do is you set up a class template of, things like a description, the class name, a sub name, even a footer or a URL about that class. This class description right here that talks about your class. Details like that. Those are going to be the same for every class of that type that you schedule. So we don't want to force you to have to enter all that information every time. So you just create a template, and then when you schedule a class, you schedule it based on a template. So we have this scheduled class that was based on this template for sample basic CCW class. If you wanted to change this description, you'd have to modify the template, and that would modify all the classes that are scheduled based on that template. So hopefully that makes sense. Now there are some settings that are controllable by class. For example, the class size. So this one's 35 seats. Let's say I'm missing an instructor, so I only get, I only have one instructor for this class, so I'm gonna make it 20 or something like that. I want to change that. I can also change the purchase options for this class. Again, this is not for the template, it's just for this one class. And also the add-ons that are available for this class. I can also pick my instructors. Now I only have one configured here in this demo site, but I could pick which instructors are going to be available for this specific class. I can also, I'm getting a little bit ahead of things here because I'm actually showing you some stuff that we'll look at when we go to schedule a class, but we have a concept of of locations as well, and you can have multiple locations. So you can have, we only have one classroom set up right now, but you could have multiple classroom locations, and you could have multiple range locations. Or even, maybe it's a class that doesn't include range, so you just say none for a range. So you have that option. And then you have an email template. What email template do you want to use for this class? The email template is going to be basically the format of the email that the student receives after they register for a class. So it's going to say, thank you for registering, blah, blah, blah. Here are the dates for your class, dates and times, and here are the things that you need to bring to the class. And all of that is configurable, and you can have multiple templates. So, the things that you want to bring to class may be different depending on what type of class it is. So that's why we give you the ability on a per class or class template, level to control the email that student's going to receive. And we'll look at that in a little more detail in just a minute. Moving on down, I've got options here to change the date if I wanted to, or the time, or the time range for the class. These classes can be one day, they can be up to 12 days, and they don't have to be consecutive. So this could be every Wednesday for the next 12 weeks if you wanted to, or once a month for the next 12 months if you wanted to do something like that. Not sure why you would, but you have that flexibility is there if you want it. Okay, so I'm just going to click update, and it says record updated. That's good. And now we look, the only thing we really changed in there is the max number of seats. We changed it to 20. We already sold 16 seats, and we have 4 available. It shows us here. Okay. So let's go back to the dashboard again and take a look. Let's see, that was the edit function we were showing there. Delete, we'll just delete this class. That would be unfortunate since we have 16 seats sold, so we'll try to avoid that. Show you real quick how easy it is to clone this class. Let's say we want to do one just like it next weekend. Okay, so I hit clone, and then I would just go right down here and change the date to the 25th. Click add. Done. So as you can see, within about 10 seconds there, if that, we just scheduled another class for the 25th. Everything else is exactly the same. It's the same type of class. Just the date changed. So now this would show up when your potential students are browsing ClassLoader Pro on your, browsing your classes on ClassLoader Pro. They're going to see both these classes available now. Okay. And if we go back to the dashboard, of course, now we see, you have 2 of those in active classes. So moving on down the list here on the left-hand side, you just saw that just a minute ago. You can look at classes from, here's the active classes that you have. Here's the archived classes. A couple of those are the ones that we just archived a minute ago. And then you can look at class templates. And we only have one template set up in here right now. And it's telling me that there are 2 active classes associated with this template. And that's just kind of a, not really a warning, but just a heads up to say, hey, if you make a change here, just, be aware that you're changing 2 active classes that are associated with this template. So let's go look at this template real quick. We'll hit the edit button over here. And this is where we can change that stuff like the class name or the sub name or the footer, the class URL and the description. So we can change all that stuff. Now we can also set the default size. These are default settings. So this is what it's going to default to. But you can change these settings per class. So you go back one more time. The stuff at the top here is kind of set in stone. The only place you can change it is here in the class template. But when you schedule a class, it'll default to these settings, but you have the option of changing them per class if you want to. The only reason these are here, these default settings, is just to make it easier for you when you set up a brand new class. You can, if you have all the defaults set, and that's what you want, then it's pretty easy. You don't have to change anything except the defaults and add the class. At the very bottom here, this is the display order index, and what that basically tells ClassLoader Pro is I want this particular class type to show first in the list. So, and we'll look at this later and look at what the end user sees when they browse your classes. But when they see a list of classes, this particular class type is going to be the first type that shows up, because the classes will be listed by type. They'll be separated by type. So we're saying we want this one to be first. So you can kind of come into, if you have multiple class types, you can manipulate this number to make sure that certain class types show first in the list if you want to. There's also a checkbox here, and this one's kind of interesting, that says do not show classes of this type in the class list. So when your potential students browse to through your classes, you could say, I don't want this class type to show. Maybe it's a private class or something like that, where you don't want just anybody to be able to see it or sign up for it. You want to have a special URL just for certain people. Maybe you're going to email it to a list of people at your church or some other group that you're a member of, and it's a special discounted rate or something like that just for those particular people. So maybe you'd want to hide this class type so it doesn't show up in the list. So I'm just going to go ahead and cancel this because we didn't really change anything in there. The next menu option here is direct URLs, and that goes back to what I was just talking about. So right now we have 2 active classes, 2 open classes, and here's a direct URL to that particular class. So we can go ahead and just give you an idea what that looks like. So let's say we sent this in an email to somebody because they wanted to sign up for this specific class. We could go ahead and send them that email, and when they click on it, this is what they're going to get. They're going to come right straight to the class that you had defined, and they can start the process of registering and purchasing a seat in that class, or multiple seats for that matter. Okay. Just for grins here, we'll go back. This is the list that I was talking about. I mean, it's a short list right now, but this would be like your main landing page where students, when they go to browse your classes, this is what they're going to see. They're going to see the class type up here. And if you have multiple class types, there'd be a whole nother block like this under here with the other class type. And then you could have 8 or 10 different types of classes if you want. And then here are the specific classes of that type that are available. So if I'm browsing your classes right now, I can come in, and I didn't want to get too deep into this, but I'll just show you real quick. I can come in here and I'll say, well, I want to take this class on October 18th because it's in the the city that I want to take it in, and I like this instructor because I always like Clint Eastwood, and there's 4 seats left, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select this class, and it tells me a little bit about the class, what to bring, all this is configurable, okay, in your class template. So I'll read that. I'll say, okay, it sounds good. Go to next, and then, well, I just want a single seat because I don't want to bring anybody with me, but I have the option. I could bring a partner or whatever, or a few friends, whatever, but I'm just going to do one. And then we go next. It's going to ask me for my name, short name. It's going to ask me for my legal name, my email address and phone number. And then it's going to give me the option to purchase these add-ons. Okay, and I'm not going to go much further than this, but basically after we go past here, it gives me a summary of how much it's going to cost, and I hit purchase. It takes me to PayPal, and then again, we're going to do another video on all that, but I just wanted to give you a quick view of, what the end user is going to see based on that class, that we were looking at right here. So you sent them this URL and it took them straight to that class. Moving down the list here, we have students. So that was all about classes here. We can list all the students. Oh, there it is. Okay, so we can list all of our students. You see some of these have passed, some of them are blank. That's because these guys are probably signed up for a class that hasn't been taught yet. So that's why there's no, they haven't passed the class yet. So we haven't archived that class yet. Once you archive it, then it'll embed this pass or fail grade into the database. Mailing list, basically just a student list, first name, and then the email address. These are all fake users, by the way. That's why everybody has an email address at ClassLoaderPro.com. It's all, it's just their first name. I just had some dummy data to put in here just to give you an idea of what it's going to look like. Same with phone numbers. Obviously, these are fake phone numbers. So moving down the list here, we get into the configuration. First thing under there is preferences. So this is kind of, I'm going to do a video on this on, start to finish, how you set up a business from, start to finish. So, but basically, you put in your business name here, address, a public email address here and phone number, your URL if you have one, the owner name. This is all private information here. So this is the owner name, and your phone number that, this would be for me to contact you in case there's some reason. This is not something that would be published publicly. This is just like a private or a phone number. If you have one, maybe it's the same number. Same with the email address. This could be, you might have an email address for, for potential students to email you with questions and stuff. Maybe you want to give me a different email address when if I need to let you know that, I don't know, there's some issue with the account or something like that. But just to give you an idea, this one's public up here, this one's private here. Moving on down, payment options and fees. This is important. So this is your email address for PayPal. This is how you're going to get paid. When people walk through that registration process and they get to the PayPal section, and they make their payment, basically what happens is there's a split pay that happens right then. You get paid immediately, I get paid immediately. Okay, so there's a per student fee associated with using this system, and we both get paid at the same time. So there's no invoicing, there's no waiting for your money, none of that nonsense. You have the option of, this checkbox right here, automatically discount my class price to cover the service fee. You have the option of, either passing the fee on to your students or eating the cost yourself. And if you check this box, what will happen is, let's say your class is, $75 per student, and the per student fee is $3, the service fee. What will happen is, if you have this box checked, they'll show a discount. It'll show your class at $75, and you'll show a discount of $3 to offset the fee, and then it'll show a charge of $3 for the fee. So at the end, total will still be $75 for the student. You'll get 72 of that. I'll get 3 of it. If you don't check this box and your class is $75, what the end total will be is $75 for the class plus 3 for the fee, or $78 for the student to pay. So just keep that in mind. You have the option. You can pay the fee, or you can pass the fee on to the students. So for social media options, these aren't actually functional yet, but we've got, I'm actually working on this right now, and I'm planning, some cool new features on the next update. So keep an eye out for those. One of those features is going to be when the student gets all the way through the registration process and they've paid for their class and they get to the final, the final summary page. They'll have a couple of icons there that they can click on. One of them will be, something like, click here to invite my friends on, Facebook or whatever. So they can click a button and it'll automatically update their Facebook page saying, hey, I'm taking this class on this date. Here's the URL if you want to join me. And it'll actually, pop that direct URL so that, if one of their friends want to join them in that class, they just click on it, sign up, and they're good to go. So look for those options or those features, soon. Trying to get those working right now. Pretty excited about that one. Email options. Now this is when the system automatically emails the student as soon as they register. It also reminds them the day before class. It sends them a reminder email saying, hey, remember you got a class. And again, you have the option of modifying those the text of those emails. So but at the bottom of those emails, what they're asking for here is, the owner name. So it's going to be kind of like the signature at the bottom of your email. So this is the information that's going to show up, in every email that gets sent to a student. And again, these are not functional for the social media yet. So if we, once they are functional, the URLs that you put in up here, those would show as icons underneath your signature in your emails that get sent out. These aren't functional yet, though. I mean, you can check the boxes, but they don't do anything yet. Notifications. This is the email address you want notifications sent to for you. And here are the notifications that you would like. You can be notified when a student registers for a class. I don't know, maybe you're getting 1,000 registrations a day and you don't want to see all those, so you turn it off maybe. I don't know. But you have that option here. You want to be notified when a class is sold out. Do you want to be reminded 24 hours before the class is scheduled to start? Most people aren't going to need this, but it's up to you. You can get an email and it'll tell you, here's how many people are signed up. Here's a link to the admin page to go print your roster and, things like that. And then there's this archive email address. Now this is optional, but if you do put something in here, basically what it does is it sends a copy of every email that is sent from the system to one of your students. You get a copy of it. Now, I know that's going to be a lot of email, and that's why I suggest that if you do this, you create an email address specifically for this purpose. And I think it's a good idea because, let's just say a student calls you up and says, hey, I never did get a confirmation email from you. I didn't get a receipt or anything. What's up with that? You can go back to your archive email, inbox, and you can look at, because you get a copy of it, you can find that email and you can resend it to them directly from there. So I think this would be a handy feature to have, maybe just go in there every once in a while and delete the last couple months out of it or something like that, so it doesn't get too big. But definitely use a different email address because, if you had 20 students, you're going to get 20 emails, as they register, and then you're going to get 20 emails the night before as reminder emails that go out to them. So, it could generate a lot of junk mail for you. So just be aware of that. And then the application settings here, basically you've got options here where you can show classes that are sold out, and it'll actually show the class. But let's go back over there real quick. Go back to that main page. So it'll show the class here, but say there's 0 seats available. Instead of having the select button visible, it'll show like a sold out banner across here, and they won't be able to click the select button. It's up to you whether you want that to show or not. You know, you can just select it or not, whether you want to show them. The same with this, the next one, show a message when no classes of a type are available. So let's say we've only got one class type again. It's the sample basic CCW class. That's our class type. Let's say that both of these were sold out. It's going to show a message under here that says there are no classes available of this type, and it'll give an email a place to put their email address and name in. And when they hit submit, it'll actually send them. It'll put them on a mailing list, and it'll send them a class schedule every week. Your class schedule every week, so that they'll get constant updates about when another one of those classes is available. So there's that option as well. And then the numbering, we've got an invoice prefix and a certificate prefix. So when an invoice is created, there's a unique number that's generated. This is the prefix that goes on the front of it. So this might be, I just have ABC in here as a sample, but maybe it's your company abbreviation or something like that. Maybe I would put in CLP here for ClassLoader Pro or something like that. Same for certificate prefix. And as you saw when we printed the certificates earlier, every certificate has a unique number. Again, this is just the prefix that goes on the front of it. Okay. So I don't think we really changed anything in there. We're just going to hit cancel. And then we'll go to the next option and we'll go to uploads. And this is where you can upload your logo. So basically you would choose the logo file here, and it tells you there's some specifics about how it should be formatted. I'm going to leave that up to you guys. There's tons of information out there on the web. Most of you probably already know how to do this, but you can tell this logo right here is not square. I had to actually create it with a background, a clear background, so that I could get it to this 300 by 300 pixel size. But basically, once you have that all ready to go, you select that file here, and then you click update, and you should see your logo right there. Ticket options. This is also seat options or seating options. Purchase options. Haven't landed on a name yet for it. But basically, these are all of the available purchase options. Now, keep in mind, these don't automatically apply to every class. So when you go into a class or a class template, you pick which one of these you want to apply to that particular class. So you may have a single seat option for a CCW class that's $75. You might also have a single seat option for an advanced CCW class that's $100. Okay, and those wouldn't both apply to the same type of class. Hopefully that makes sense. So you would only apply the CCW class to the CCW class type, and the advanced to the advanced type. So again, but here's where you create those, all of the options that are available. And then let's take a real quick look here. Back in your class templates, just so I can tie this together. Went too far. Here are the purchase discount options. So you're going to see the whole list that you have available, but you're only going to select the ones that you want out of this list. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. You can add new ones here. You can make a copy of this one if you wanted to, and then make some changes to it. You can delete them if you want to. Now, I will mention here, be careful deleting them. If they're already applied to a particular class, you can get yourself into some trouble there. because then that class thinks that it has a particular seat option that no longer exists. So it gets a little upset about that. So be careful about deleting them if they've already been applied to a particular class. Moving down the list here in configuration options, locations. Same kind of thing here. If we wanted, right now we've got a classroom that we set up and a big range that we have configured. But we could set up another one if you wanted to. This could be like classroom 2, and the type is classroom, and then the street address and zip code, all that kind of stuff. If there's a URL to that particular place, you could put that in here. And then comments, these comments would be something like, make sure you park in the back parking lot, that kind of stuff. Come in through the side door or whatever. So you can put that in there. And what will happen is this information will show up in the welcome email that the student gets after they register. It'll also have for the street address, there'll be a Google Map icon they can click on to get directions to to this location. So that's kind of handy for them. Moving down the list here, same kind of thing with instructors. We only have one configured right now, but you could configure another one. Hit new. You got the name, the title, and then this is the instructor ID. It's like your NRA ID or whatever ID you want to show up on the certificates. You would put that in here. Moving down the list to add-ons, same kind of thing. Right now we have 2 of them set up. We have a gun rental ammo package. We have safety glasses and earplugs. Now again, these options, even the locations, instructors, add-ons, all that stuff is not automatically applied to every class. So again, look at it real quick. Class templates. We go down, here's the list of add-ons, but you can select which ones you want to be available for this class or this class type. Same with instructors. Same with classroom and range locations. You pick which one. When you're creating them down here, you're just saying, here's my available inventory of add-ons. Maybe these aren't all available for the CCW class, but I'll just pick the ones that I want from that list in the CCW class. Hopefully that makes sense. And I think a lot of this will make sense, a lot more sense once you get in there and start playing around with it on your own. There's a lot of options, but we've tried to make this as flexible as possible, so you can configure any type of firearms class that you want. Moving down to certificates. This is the certificate that we printed earlier. We've only got one of them in the list right now. I could create a copy of that if I wanted to. Matter of fact, let's do that. Let's just do a copy of sample is the default name. So I'll just say add. So now I've got one called copy of sample Ohio, whatever. Now let's edit that one. And as you can see, this is kind of a little, preview of what the certificate's going to look like, or a little sample. You've got a lot of different options here. This is the certificate name. That's only on the ClassLoader Pro system. It doesn't show anywhere else. That's just what you want to call it. But I think it would be smart to put in the type of class here, so that you can easily look at this and say, okay, this certificate's associated with this kind of class, or this type of class. This is the heading. So where it says certificate of completion, you can change that. Awarded to, you can change that. For successful completion of, you can change that. Your class name, you can change that. And then the legal mumbo jumbo. I'm pretty sure this is accurate for the state of Ohio, but I encourage you to double check it and make sure that it's okay with your sheriff's department before you start using it. But you can modify it here if you need to. And then here, do you want to include the logo and the company name or not? And then what do you want the text to be for the instructor ID? So right now I've got NRA instructor ID, and that's where it shows here, NRA instructor ID. Now, I don't know, maybe I didn't want NRA in there. If I do that and hit refresh, now it's just instructor ID. And maybe I don't want the company name or the logo in there, so I can take those out. So you got quite a bit of flexibility, over what the certificate looks like. There are some, restrictions, but this is basically what you have to work with. I think this is going to probably work for the majority of folks out there. Now, down the road, we may end up adding a few more certificate templates. So keep a lookout for that as well. So moving down the list here, the last but not least is email templates. And again, we've only got one configured right now for this demo. We've got the sample email template. So let's go in and edit that. Now basically what this red text is telling you is, listen, this is just an example of kind of what it's going to look like when they receive it. Okay, here's the name of the template. Student doesn't see that. They see everything from about this point down. Obviously, it's not going to say hi first name. It's going to have their first name in there. Okay. Here's the stuff you can change, the stuff that's in these boxes. You can change this text. So this is going to be kind of the header of the email that the student receives once they register. It's going to say, hi, John or Jim or Sally or whatever. And then this is the text they're going to see. And then towards the bottom here, it's going to have the instructor name, company, email, and phone. Now remember, that was in that preferences section that we looked at, where I told you this information will show up on all the emails. And then later, under this, if you check those boxes, you'll see like the Facebook and Twitter and all that junk under here, the icons for that. The next section will be next section in the email that they receive will be for the schedule. So it'll be, the class for schedule day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way through. Then you can modify the text. And again, obviously these will be the real dates here and times for the schedule. This is just here as a placeholder, just to give you an idea of what the email is going to look like. So you can change the text that shows up here. Class will start promptly, blah, blah, blah. You can, whatever you want to put in there. Okay. And then the class location. So it's going to show the class location, range location. And it's also going to show right here and here, it's going to show the text that was associated with these. So let's go look at that real quick. So we can tie these together. This text right here is going to show up in this email template right here for the class and range location. Now, here's some other text that you can fill in that will show up regardless of whether there was text in the location, configuration. So you can put something, maybe it's generic stuff here that that you want to type in, that it'll show up on every email, regardless of which classroom or range location is selected. If you type something in here, it'll show up regardless. And here's what to bring. There's a what to bring section, and you've got all these different sections that you can fill in. And then, these are just blank ones here that you can add additional boxes or text if you want to. Student information. This is telling the student, you registered the following students for this class, because they have the option. They can register up to 5 students with a single transaction. They're not just registering themselves. They can, they can register up to 5 students. So when they get the email, it'll say, you registered the following students. It'll give a list of all their names, their legal names, actually. And it'll also try to send a copy of this email to each one of them if an email address was supplied. So they'll all get a copy of that. So this will be the end of the registration email right here, to get the little footer here and all that stuff. And then here's the reminder email. So like I said, that previous one is the one that they get as soon as they hit the submit button and pay for the class. They get that welcome email. Now this one they'll get the day before the class as a reminder. So again, you have flexibility of changing the text here. Hey, remember you have a class coming up. Hi John, remember you got a class coming up. Blah blah blah. Same kind of thing with the instructor name, company, all that stuff. It's also going to have some of the same stuff, as far as the what to bring, the class location, range location. A lot of that stuff will be repeated, but we wanted to give you the option of changing the header part of it for the reminder, so you can say, hey, remember you have a class, instead of whatever we set up here. Thanks for signing up. Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. We did cover quite a bit. I apologize. I know this went a lot longer than we originally anticipated. I thought this was going to be a quick demo of the features, but there's just so much to cover. As you can see, so many features and options. And honestly, on a lot of those, we barely scratched the surface of the capabilities and how they actually work. So I encourage you to go out there when you get a chance and take a look at that demo site, play around on your own. If you have any kind of questions or comments, I am more than willing to listen to those. If you've got ideas for making ClassLoader Pro better, or new features, ideas for new features, yeah, I'm all ears for that as well. If after seeing this demo you decide that ClassLoader Pro might be right for your business, or you want to get started using it, please by all means let me know. I've got my email address up there on the screen, so just shoot me an email and we'll get you set up as quickly as possible, or answer your questions as quickly as possible. Thanks again for sticking around. I know it was a long video, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.